that need to be asked.
Sure, those are fair questions. Sure, those are fair questions. But can it be argued that Anna Hazare is a media-made phenomena? Is it as simplistic for the government to say that take the cameras away, there will be no protest?
Absolutely not. No. It's not. He has obviously touched a chord. There's no taking that away from him. But not very long ago, I mean, on this very channel, we were debating the Ramdev phenomenon. Where is he today? So it is definitely the media attention that fuels people overnight into becoming some kind of media superstars. It is a made-for-media event. I'm not saying he's a creation of the media. He's been talking about this for a long time. And certainly a lot of things that he has to ask, the questions he's raising are valid. But take away those cameras, take away the media focus, take away this live coverage. Will even half the people who have taken to the streets, the candlelight visuals, will they still be around? If there were no cameras, would Anna Hazare have been turned into a martyr? Are we not confusing issues? It started off as a fight against corruption, as a fight for the Jan Lokpal bill.
Okay.
What is it being converted to? A fight for a citizen's democratic rights to take to the streets and protest.
But who converted that debate into a debate about Anna Hazare's right to protest? That's a separate issue. We'll come to that later. I want to bring Bharat Bhushan in on the issue of whether take the cameras away, you kill the protest. That's what Shobha Dey is saying, that's what senior ministers are saying, and that's what the government genuinely believes, that the media is slanted, it is biased, it's going over the top. Take the cameras away, Anna's protest will die.
Well, I think people are genuinely angry about the level of corruption that we've seen in this government. It's not as if corruption didn't exist. That's not an invented issue. It was not invented by the media. However, I would agree to the extent that the 24/7 breathless coverage by television channels has lent the stir a certain momentum. Also,
no, but let me put this case to you as an editor yourself. Television channels and your newspaper as well has been giving a lot of coverage. Tomorrow I hear there are 5 pages in your newspaper on the Anna Hazare phenomena. It's a story which people want to read about. It's a story which is connecting, which is why you are giving that space in your newspaper, and television channels are doing the same on TV.
Fair enough, but I'm saying that how many voices do you bring in? How many, are there critical voices also in your coverage, or is it breathless coverage of the kind as if you were going on Dandi March to make salt against protesting against a colonial power? What I would like to say is that I see a convergence of interest, perspective between what Anna and his supporters are saying and between a lot of TV channels. Okay, I'm not saying all of them. Where you see corruption as a character flaw, you think that you get rid of certain individuals and everything would be okay. That if only there was a few honest men governing us who were not political, who could rise above political parties, everything would be fine. This is a middle class perception, which I think is completely wrong, because corruption is, part of a system, is a structural problem. Just to illustrate this point, only 2 weeks ago, 4,500 farmers, tribals, fishermen protested in Delhi against the Land Acquisition Act, against implementing the Forest Rights Act, against demanding that Panchayati Raj be extended to scheduled areas. Fishermen were fighting for their rights, and not one TV channel, except for 2 newspapers, including mine, which reported, and none of them reported. Because taking away tribal sites is not seen as corruption. Giving the land to mining companies by cheating tribals is not seen as corruption.
You're saying it doesn't connect with the target audiences of television channels.
Exactly.
Is this really made for TV, by TV, a middle class phenomenon, or is this a story that's genuinely reaching out and connecting with people?
I think there are a whole bunch of red herrings in this. There's one set of people asking the question, is it made for media? Is it made by media? The answer to that question is very simple. Is there a real cause for protest? Are people angry? And the fact is, people are angry. The fact also is that in today's generation, all kinds of protests are made by media, expanded by media, and also media becomes a vehicle for protest to actually happen. You're talking of a new generation. Of course you can talk about it, urban, rural divide and all those issues. But again, that's a red herring. The fact is that today there is genuine anger in the street. People are angry about corruption. People may be making a hero out of Anna, and maybe Anna cannot be the lone crusader for systemic change which Bharat talked about. And people recognize that what we need now is systemic change. But is media the culprit for making Anna into what he is? They are actually hyping Anna, but the fact is that these protests are real, the people are angry, and government is probably underestimating, to my mind, the seething anger in a vast majority of people about the extreme nature of corruption in the government at the moment, and that's what the anger is coming from.
Hartosh Singh Bal has been speaking a lot about the problems with Anna Hazare's movement. Given the space that the media, TV channels are being blamed at the highest levels, the government genuinely believes that this is a media created problem. Are they being very naive? Are they misreading the writing on the wall, which is what is leading them to take the wrong decisions and then be forced to do all these volte-faces because they're not reading the writing on the wall? Hartosh.
For once, I think we are having a TV debate where views are sort of nuanced, and I think that's important. Corruption and Anna Hazare, I think the government is confusing the symptom and the cause. Anna is a symptom of an anger that exists, and insofar if you argue that the 2G scam, the Commonwealth scam, the Radia tapes were exposed by the media, then Anna is a creation of the media. It is only because those scams exist, there was continued exposure of those scams, and there was anger at that today you see an Anna Hazare in the position where he is. That should not stop us from asking critical questions about Anna Hazare, but that does not mean the anger is not genuine, that there is a real problem out there. For me, what the Congress did yesterday is one of the biggest disasters since 2004. I think we can actually start counting down the Congress government. The last 2 years till 2014, 2.5 years are going to be disastrous for this government.
Alright, so is the media not being adequately critical? That's the other pet peeve the Congress has, Bharat. They're saying the media is looking at it with rose-tinted glasses. Look at the Justice Samant report. The final report says that Anna Hazare couldn't justify the 2.2 lakh rupees he spent on his birthday. That sounds, that's the argument the government makes. Let's hear your views on it.
Well, you're asking two questions. One is that do we think everything is rosy? I don't think so. I think a good newspaper or a good TV channel would have a variety of voices without taking a particular view. Okay, be in the reporting business rather than sort of in the business of supporting Anna or the government. So the more voices you have, the more nuanced picture, more layered picture of a complex reality will you get. Now, whether Anna spent 20 lakhs or 2.5 lakhs on his birthday, to my mind is immaterial. That doesn't take away his right to protest. That doesn't take away his right to raise questions about corruption. So, and if Anna was really such a dacoit as some people are making out, then why was the government sitting across the table with him and discussing his Jan Lokpal bill? You should have refused to have anything to do with him because you spent 2.5 lakh rupees on his birthday. So, I mean, forget that. If he's talking sense, what do you take away from it? If he says that, do the following things in the Lokpal bill and I'll be happy, well, come to a compromise. If he's demanding and you can be accommodated, accommodate those 5. Don't be dishonest. Don't pretend to have a discussion with him and then be completely non-transparent and say, we will do what we think is right. Because people in this country do have a right to influence laws. Yes, laws will be made in parliament, but through the standing committee, through other procedures, and I'm saying even in the street people can demand, say that this law is bad. I'm not saying they should make law, they become legislators. No. But if a law they think is bad, they have a right to protest.
Shobha Dey, the government says the media's coverage, and particularly that of television channels, has been skewed. It's been biased in favor of Anna Hazare, and this is not good journalism. The government is very unhappy about it. Do you believe that television channels are reflecting the mood on the streets, reflecting the anger of the people against what people perceive is a corrupt government, or are they being unduly favorable towards Anna Hazare, who the government believes has several skeletons of his own? All right, let's get Dilip to answer that question. We'll go back to Shobha in just a moment.
You know, I think that this whole question of skeletons in the cupboard and things are again false propositions, because that's not what the debate is about. The debate is about whether the public anger about the form and the format of tackling corruption is satisfied by the current draft of the Lokpal bill. Nobody, in fact, this whole question is being made out, is Anna against democracy? Is it going to be against parliament? Is it going to be against the constitution? Again, those are all fake questions. The real question is, are people convinced that government has a genuine desire and that parliament in its current form has the ability to craft a methodology to tackle corruption through one bill? Is one bill enough? Is there need for more? And is there need for doing a lot more? I think media needs to keep supporting the fact that corruption is an issue.
Let me bring in Shabnam Hashmi as well, well-known social activist. Ms. Hashmi, we're seeing senior ministers in the government now target the media for its supposedly slanted coverage, pro-Anna coverage. They're saying Anna Hazare is a media-made phenomena. Do you buy that argument, or do you believe the government's got its calculations and its understanding all wrong?
Well, I would say that something in the middle. Definitely with the kind of coverage that has been given to Anna is definitely much more than what media gives to. There have been rallies of lakhs of people, of ordinary workers in the city, and they have not been covered. But 24 hours constantly giving coverage to Anna has been much more than what media could have done or should have done. But at the same time, I would say that, you see, what is happening, that it is like Bollywood, where suddenly one day some person would come, a hero would come, and that he's going to remove all ills in the society. There is no magic wand. There is no way that what Anna is proposing is going to finish corruption. Corruption is an issue, there is no doubt about it. People across India are agitated about corruption, so are we. But the way it is being proposed, that either you accept what we are saying, either you accept our bill, or we would not let the debate go on. We have also engaged with the government on various bills. I have personally engaged over the last 4 years, and a large section of secular network has engaged with the government on the prevention of the communal violence bill. There is a procedure. We have been,
Okay, Shobha Dey, you said
you
take the cameras away,
what I'm saying is
the protest will die. You know, but the fact is, you've been an editor, you've been a journalist yourself. Every story has its own momentum. If there are cameras chasing Anna Hazare and his team at this time, it's because people genuinely believe that Anna is a voice that viewers want to listen to. And that's what journalists do, and they believe this is a story which has momentum. They're giving it the sort of traction they believe it deserves, and therefore to blame the media is not correct, because this is a story that's reaching out and connecting with people who watch TV channels and read newspapers.
I completely agree with you, Rahul. It's not about the blame game. It's not about making the media into either a vamp, villain, or the hero of this piece. It is about perspectives. I mean, as it was rightly said, there are procedures in place, and there have been protests in the past which are equally important. But what has happened now, perhaps there's a dearth of other stories, that we have created a person much larger than life, and a lot of expectations are riding on the outcome of this protest and this agitation. Does anyone debate that? What are the solutions? Does Anna have them? Does anybody have them? Agreed, the government has bungled and bungled badly. But what happens next? Once the farce ends, once the cameras move away, are the people who are out there, trusting people, the people of India, are we going to just abandon them because the story is no longer hot and the media has lost interest and there's a bigger story coming up? What happens to the trust of those people? I think the people have been taken for granted, and there's been a very cavalier attitude in really insulting their sentiments. I'm far more concerned about that than about Anna Hazare. And what he's raised is definitely something that all of India is concerned about. Any right-thinking Indian would worry about the corruption levels in this country. But by extending this standoff, we are giving India a very poor image.
Smriti,
and we are hurting that image badly.
You're saying the media's coverage is hurting India's image internationally. The Prime Minister has spoken about this.